And if it's not about connecting to people, if it's not about communicating with people from around the world, then then it's kind of just academic.
Hello and welcome to Mansion Interviews, a podcast created to improve your English while at the same time giving me an excuse to talk to interesting people. Today we're talking to Kevin Chen, co-founder of iTalki.com, the language learning marketplace that can help you take your English to the next level. Remember, you can improve your listening with comprehension questions and find some help with difficult words from this interview at inglespodcast.com/Kevin. So, let's do this. Here's Kevin all the way from Shanghai, China. Okay, welcome to Mansion Interviews, and today we are speaking to Kevin Chen, co-founder of iTalki. Welcome, Kevin, and thank you very much for your time today.
No, thank you. It's my pleasure.
So you're speaking to us from Shanghai, China, which is wonderful because Skype and technology. So if I wanted to learn Chinese, I could find a teacher on your website in Shanghai, and I could speak to somebody in Shanghai and have lessons using Skype. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, we have teachers all over the world, not just in Shanghai. I mean, certainly we have lots of Chinese teachers from the north and the south, all sorts of accents. Just to give you a sense, Chinese people who are learning Chinese are only about 8% of our website. And so, most people are learning English, and there are many, many languages that we offer. So, everything from Spanish, French, Japanese, and so on.
Well, I'm very interested in finding ways for our Spanish listeners to improve their English online. And if you go to the italki.com website, at the top you see different options. You have professional lessons, informal tutoring, and instant tutoring. Kevin, can you talk us through these different options and explain what they offer, not only to the student, but also to the teacher?
Well, for the students, what we really want to be able to offer is professional native teachers. I think that's the main service that a lot of students are looking for. They don't live in an area where they have a lot of English teachers, or it's just not as convenient for them to learn offline. By finding an online teacher, they're able to get lessons when they want, when it's convenient for them from their home, or wherever they think it's easy to take lessons. A professional teacher on iTalki, which is the first option, is a teacher that we've qualified. We've checked to see their teaching credentials, that they teach offline, they have experience, and so on. And those teachers, we believe, are able to give you a structured learning experience if you want one. These are people who are trained to teach, in other words. Informal lessons are more like...
Sorry to interrupt you, Kevin. So these teachers, are they, they're obviously teachers who are teaching also in the classroom? I mean, they're qualified, they have certification, and perhaps they're also teaching in a language school. Is that right?
Yeah, many of them. So generally speaking, we check for one of three things. We check that they have either a teaching degree, teaching certificate, or they have experience at that time, teaching at an institution. So they must have, one of those qualifications to be considered a professional teacher. The other category is something we call a community tutor. And that's something like a native speaker of that language. I, for example, could help you with speaking practice for English, but I wouldn't be able to teach you English as a professional teacher. I don't have that background at all. So if you're just looking for practice, then we say go get some tutoring. But if you're looking for lessons and you're looking for a structured way of learning the language, someone who can really lift up your level and give you a personalized, customized experience, that's for the teachers.
So an informal tutor is a person who speaks the language that you're learning, usually natively, and you'd also pay that person, but probably it wouldn't be as expensive as a professional teacher. Is that right?
Absolutely. So a teacher, of course, is a professional and deserves the teachers, all the teachers on iTalki, I should mention, set their own prices. So,
Okay.
it's very much dependent on, their own backgrounds and, and what they're hoping to get. So, if you want to get a native teacher from America or from the UK, I think the averages are probably more like $15, $20 and more, per hour. If you're looking, for some students that might be too expensive, and they might be looking for something that might be, cheaper because of their economic situation. And, you might get a teacher from the Philippines for English, for maybe $8, $10 an hour. So there's a
Right.
whole range of potential outcomes. I think one thing that we say about the platform is that, we don't say that we are a school. We don't tell you how to learn a language. We think that everyone has different needs and different desires. So, we leave it up to the student to choose which teacher is best for them.
So that's obviously very useful if you're catering for people on different budgets. Depending on how much the student wants to spend, then they can choose their teacher according to their budget. That's good.
Yeah. We also find that some students also take more than one teacher at the same time. You might have a great teacher to kind of walk you through difficult grammar points and to give you a more formal class. But then you might also want to have a lot of practice with someone else, and in that case, just speaking, just to get more confident about speaking, you might, choose a cheaper teacher to just, run you through, basic conversations.
So let's move on to the instant tutoring. How is that different from the other two options?
Instant tutoring is an experiment from our side, just to see if people would be interested in, I'm interested in a lesson right now. And then, another teacher on the flip side might say, well, I have time right now. And, could you connect those people? It's been interesting for us to put it up there to see how many people, would be interested in such a service. But the vast majority of lessons that take place on iTalki are through the scheduled lessons. And I think that's because most people they care very much about who their teacher is. There are some people who get home from work and are just looking for a little bit of practice, and that's fine. But we think that most people who are serious about studying a language schedule their lessons. And so for them, it's kind of like I take lessons 3 times a week. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I do it at 7 in the morning and so on. That tends to be, I think, our best students. And those are the people who I think make the most progress over time.
I see. So the instant tutoring, if you have a spare half an hour, you could, in theory, jump online, connect to iTalki, and instantly find somebody and pay them to get a quick lesson because you have that half an hour or 1 hour of free time.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh, I was also going to mention that we do have a lot of community features as well. We do offer free language exchange through our community of language learners. We have over 1.5 million language users on our website, and many people use iTalki to find friends in other countries, to which they can build a more normal relationship. And then, many of them get into language exchanges where, for example, you might teach someone your native language in return for practice from, in the language that they speak. So that certainly also takes place on the website.
That's very interesting for our listeners because it's also a way, obviously, of trying the service. Because if they begin going inside the community and get some practice with a language exchange, then if they like the website and they like the system, then they could then pay for more structured lessons and take a full course if they're interested. So and that's an excellent way to practice English if you don't have any budget. Also,
the language exchange is whatever you want to do. We are very loose with that, and we think it's great when people make friends and they're able to find people who share their language learning goals. So we by all means are very supportive of language exchange. I think in our experience, what's hard about language exchange is that it really depends on who you are, and it depends on if you're lucky in terms of finding someone who has not just the language that you want to learn, but has similar learning goals and a similar sort of determination to learn the language. In our own experiences, and this is unfortunately just because of the imbalance of native speakers there are in the world. There are a lot more people who want to learn English than there are, English speakers who want to learn the other languages. So,
right.
So as if you're an American or a British person on the website, you have your choice of language partners. And unfortunately, if you happen to be, for example, Chinese, the proportion of users that will be able to fulfill your language learning, desire for free practice just may not be there. It won't be quite as even a trade. So we love it, but I think a lot of it depends on the personal chemistry that comes out from making friends and being able to find someone who is similar to you. It's a little bit like dating. I mean, that's the best metaphor we can come up with.
So what advice would you have for a Spanish speaker going to iTalki and looking for a suitable teacher? Because obviously you have photos, which is great because you get an idea of the person you're going to be talking to. And there seems to be a star system. Can you speak a bit about how you'd find a teacher? That obviously price is a factor, Definitely. But how to begin choosing a teacher? How would you suggest they do that?
Yeah, so this can be, depending on who you are. I think it really depends on what you're motivated by, your goals. For example, are you interested? I mean, an obvious one would be: are you interested in learning English with an American accent or a British accent? Are you interested in a teacher with a very formal background, or are you more, is your English at a level where you're more interested in just, kind of gaining more fluency rather than, let's say, learning basic grammar? So I think that these types of different needs will shape which teacher you want to choose. I have to say that the one thing that I think really makes a difference is just trying different teachers. I would say that take a trial lesson with these teachers. Take a class, and don't feel bad about switching teachers, especially at the beginning. We find that a lot of students will find they'll try 2 or 3 teachers before they find one that they really click with. And it's a little bit hard to explain, but it's I think that chemistry, finding someone who really motivates you and excites you about learning a language really makes all the difference for your learning experience. So,
absolutely. As a teacher, I totally understand that because it's much easier in a class of 15 or 20 to get a chemistry going. But when you're teaching one-to-one, it's really important to like the person and have that comfortable feeling with the teacher. So I totally understand that. So is it possible to get writing corrected? Because I have students who are taking exams and they're studying at home by themselves. And one problem they have is that there's no teacher to correct their writing before the exam and give them feedback. Do you have that service?
So there are 2 things I'll say on this. One is that we do have a crowdsourced, on the community side, we do offer a crowdsourced help for essay correction. We also do have a crowdsourced question and answer section as well. So you can ask a question about a foreign language and get answers from native speakers. You can also post a writing, and then native speakers will come and correct it for you. So that is already offered for free and just based on the community. With the teachers, absolutely. I think the teachers are very happy when students give them directions on what they want to learn, because it helps the teachers, I think, focus a lesson more, for the student. So I have definitely worked with the Chinese teachers that I've taken lessons with, and I have sent them, writings or emails ahead of time, and had them go over that with me to improve my writing, which is much worse than my spoken Chinese. So
that's great. So there's 2 possibilities. There's the free community that they can go into and ask for help from different users, and also the paid option of finding a teacher who will correct your writing and pay them to do that.
Absolutely.
That's clear. What would happen, Kevin, if a student paid for a lesson and wasn't happy? Would they complain to iTalki or to the teacher?
Well, they definitely, we occasionally receive emails that are, that there was a problem that took place. I mean, if it's something like, God forbid, the teacher didn't show up, I mean, absolutely, right? If there's a problem like that, the student is refunded immediately. In general, I think a lot of the, everyone is quite happy with the system. And when we look at the numbers, the people who run into problems are actually quite small. Usually the problems that we see are someone just, misunderstood the time, or, there's some sort of time zone problem or something like that. But yeah, if the student is genuinely believes that there was a problem, we will definitely refund them and give them we want them to find a teacher. I mean, I think one thing that we would like to note about iTalki is that we only really make money if there are lessons taking place. If you leave the system after taking only one lesson, that's clearly not in our benefit. So we want the students and we want the teachers to both be happy, and finding the right teacher is a critical piece of that. So yeah, I think the students should not be worried at all about about finding the right teacher or having enough, making sure they get another shot at finding the right teacher, will definitely come in, just write to us at support, and we'll make sure that they find someone that they do like.
Right. How do you make money, Kevin? Do the students pay a registration fee to join iTalki?
No, registration is completely free. What we have is on iTalki is a system called for iTalki credits. It's a virtual currency, and students purchase this currency, and they use this currency to transact with the teachers. The teachers earn this currency only when the student confirms that the lesson was good. And when that takes place, then we take a cut out of the teacher's earnings, which is at 15%, and the teacher takes the rest of it. So it's a pretty transparent system, and we hope that everyone benefits from it. Obviously, the 15% is what helps us keep the company running, and what helps us develop further improvements on the website.
Right. And I also noticed in the payment system, there's a wide range, a big selection of payment options. You've got PayPal on there, different credit cards, and even money transfer. Is that right?
Yeah. So, since we have users from all over the world, it's been a huge piece of work for us to try and integrate many payment partners from just everywhere. If you were to find a teacher from China, if here they have a system called 支付宝, which is called Alipay in the West. I am sure nobody's ever used it outside of
I've never heard of it.
It's extremely popular here. My God.
Uh-huh.
Similarly, if you try to use PayPal, you're not going to probably get any luck with anyone in Asia, and God forbid you try to pay for a teacher using your credit card. So we try to remove that, that difficulty from people around the world. In the Middle East, they use Cashew, and there's no reason why as a teacher or as a student that you should have to worry about this side. We deal with each side separately, and we try to make it easy for people to do that.
Kevin, what advice do you have for a Spanish speaker or any language learner who is a little shy? They've never spoken English, they've studied English, but they're not really confident about getting online and speaking a language that isn't their mother tongue to a stranger. Do you have any advice for somebody first jumping in the water?
Yeah, it's definitely scary, and you definitely, from my own experiences, you can definitely feel very embarrassed, and because you are making terrible mistakes, and you have no idea if the person on the other side understands anything about what you're saying. I keep going back to the teachers. I feel like they are the right people to, I think, start with. They have experience with people, who are learning a language, and they're there to help you. You're paying for their time, and I think that between the experience and generally a very positive and supportive outlook, they can get you to that level where you are at least confident enough to meet a stranger, someone you don't have a relationship with, and you can, try and build a friendship out of that. Having either a teacher or a paid tutor, I think, is a great way to start.
Right.
And for the people who are, at really low levels, I would really recommend a teacher, because they'll make sure that you can get the foundations down. It's hard when your language level is very, very low, right, to try and make friends, because your vocabulary is so limited, and you can only have the how are you conversation for so long before you're kind of like out of material. So I do feel that getting yourself up to a sort of intermediate level is really important for also getting to that that level where you can snowball and start to make friends on your own and have meaningful conversations and really build a deeper relationship with friends around the world.
Exactly. So I think students who are listening to this and they're thinking about it should just take the jump and try it, maybe with a teacher, a test lesson, just to see how they like the system. And I think also it's a lot less intimidating. It's easier to do this through Skype in your home where you're comfortable in your own environment, and there isn't the stress of maybe going out to a bar and speaking to a stranger face to face, because you're at home and you feel more comfortable. So I think it's a great way for students to try out speaking another language.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think speaking to a stranger, you have a much higher chance of being rejected, right? I mean, someone may not like you. You might come
It's happened
across,
to me a couple of
it
times.
happens to me all the time. You might come across as creepy. They might not like you for whatever reason. You support the wrong football team, or, you happen to like, I don't know, sci-fi movies and they don't happen to like that. I mean, there are a lot of other extraneous factors that can, that go into a relationship that I think that, can complicate things. But a teacher is there, right? I mean, to really help you. I mean, this person's whole, point of being there is to make sure that you move forward and make progress in the language. And I think that teachers also, I think from my limited experience, really want to share their culture, and they really, I mean, they're in the business because they like that, they love what they do. So, anyone who does not like teaching, I don't think would do it for a living. So,
No, they certainly don't do it for the money, Kevin. That's for sure.
so,
It's a vocation.
so
So
that's exactly, and I feel that but from both our teachers and our students, they tell us that it really is an eye-opening experience to reach so many people from other parts of the world. So I do think whatever you can do, whether it's with a teacher or a free language exchange partner, to take that step. I guess to go back to my own story, when I first started studying a foreign language that I studied was French, and I studied it for 3 years, and then in those 3 years, I never spoke to a single French person, which is, to me, it's just absurd now. With the technology that we have today, I can't, there's no reason why, that integrating a native speaker into your learning program isn't just part of that. And I think it would have really made a difference in terms of my interest.
So was your French teacher at high school? Was it a French native speaker or an American speaking French?
I believe it was an American speaking French. I think part of the problem is that you're 20 people in a classroom, and the amount of interaction that you have with them is very limited. I remember one of my teachers was Serbian, I believe, and who spoke French. I think she spoke it quite well. I have no doubts about that. I don't think it's so much even about the accent, so much as that you don't have a personal connection. You're sitting there in class, and the teacher might be very nice, but what you're talking about is the chair masculine or feminine? And you have quizzes on what is the subjunctive, and that's so divorced from this idea of wow, what is France like? What is it like to live in in France? And what do you guys eat every day? And it's just it just seemed to be missing the entire, for me, I feel like language is about communication. And if it's not about connecting to people, if it's not about communicating with people from around the world, then it's kind of, just academic.
So do you actually speak French now? How many languages do you speak?
Unfortunately, I don't speak French. The two languages I speak, English is my native language, and I've reached, I think, the kind of upper intermediate level of Mandarin Chinese. I've had a tiny smattering of Japanese, and I guess, just a tiny bit of French. I don't consider myself a great polyglot or anything like that. I did have the benefit of attending a conference in Berlin just recently, full of polyglots. And that was just very inspiring to me. People who love learning languages, and many of them were our teachers and our students. I guess just to kind of get the sense, it just gave me the sense that it's so possible. This isn't something that's only for the exceptionally gifted or talented. It's really just partly having a desire to connect to the rest of the world, and just the means to touch these other people. So
exactly. I totally agree. Kevin, have you been to Spain?
I haven't, and I would love to go. My God.
Do you manage to get to Europe on business or for pleasure?
Not often enough, unfortunately. My trip to Berlin was the first time I was in Europe, I think, in maybe 5 years or something. Oh, no, that's not right. Sorry, I was in Ireland last year for another conference. So we're starting to travel a little bit more, but we feel a little bit disconnected. We're in Shanghai. China is a very big country, and iTalki is based in Shanghai, and our whole team is here. We are an international team. We're about 20 people, and half are Chinese and half are from all around the world. But we do want to spend more time meeting our users face to face.
Well, if you ever get over here to Spain, please get in touch, and I'd love to meet you and talk about this a little more. But I want to be respectful of your time. So to finish up here, where's the best place to find out about iTalki? Obviously, there's the website, which is italki.com. But would you like to mention any Facebook or Twitter addresses for the listeners?
So I would definitely say just go to the website. That's the best way to find us. But if you also like to follow us on social media, Facebook, our Facebook page is very active, and it's iTalki Languages on Facebook. So if you search for that, you'll see our crazy purple-pink logo and find us there. We'll have lots of tips about learning languages, and it's usually fun, interesting things about different languages. So
yeah, there's one thing I noticed yesterday looking at the site. There's a very useful blog there which gives tips and advice for students and for teachers about how to learn languages. Lots of different articles that are very interesting for anybody interested in learning languages.
Absolutely,
which is a part of the site we didn't mention.
Yeah. So we have a site, italki.com/articles, and a lot of our teachers, have written to us saying that they've written an essay about the language, or this is part of their learning materials that they share with their students, and they were asking if they could just publish that. And we thought, for a while we thought we wouldn't try and touch content, but it just turned out to be really, again, very supportive from our teachers. So please come to the website. You'll see a lot of great essays on different aspects of languages and culture. And if you join the website, you'll get a feed of those tips for your language.
Okay. Well, Kevin, thank you very, very much for your time. And it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.
Well, I hope you've learned something from listening to Kevin, who is obviously very enthusiastic about iTalki and the way in which it's helping students and teachers all over the world. If you're a language teacher, why not go over to italki.com and sign up to give lessons and earn some money? And if you're a student, why not take a test lesson with a teacher? I really like iTalki, and I think it has a lot to offer the language learning community. A big thank you to you for listening to this Mansion interview. You can find more podcasts to improve your English at inglespodcast.com, and you can study English free at mansioningles.com. Until next time then, take care and keep studying English.